We thought SummerSlam was one thing, and then AEW decides to come out of nowhere and say, hey, look what we got. And that was something. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 62 of Under the Middle Rope. I'm your host, Jose Dewada, and like I said, a week off, and I'll be back. So we're now cruising into schedule. We're now perfectly clear. It's all good from here, I hope. But yes, we're getting right back into the groove of the podcast. Because and I've also been busy with some other side things, which I'll share maybe some other time. I don't know when. But yes, we're back into wrestling. And of course, this past weekend, AEW's All Out, their WrestleMania, which I kind of want to coin that now. And I think a lot of people have been coining that. What a pay-per-view. And of course, you know, like I said, you had SummerSlam a couple weeks before, and then AEW comes out with this, and it's like, holy smokes. And of course, I need to bring in two of good friends of mine. So of course, bringing them back, Mr. Alex Mirza, who has his hat on. Welcome back, Alex. And of course, as always, Mr. Pete Atkinson. Gentlemen, I said this before the recording. Please excuse the hockey stick in the corner of my room.
We know you're from Canada, but you don't got to keep rubbing it in our faces. You know?
I know that I don't think I've gone. Like, I think this is peak Canadian for me on this podcast. But gentlemen, how you doing?
Pretty good.
Decent.
That's what I like to hear. I know you both of you enjoyed All Out. I know we were talking throughout for the most part. And we're going to get into some of those nitty gritty. And when I told these guys and what I'm going to tell everybody right now, kind of similar to what we did for SummerSlam, because we realized it worked. And we had more time to talk about the bigger things. We're not going to do every match. And I think we're going to do that moving forward. We don't need to talk about every single match in the card because there are talking points that we can expand on. So really quickly, I know at least compared to 9 matches on the card, only 3 of them are really going to skip because there's not much we can say. Miro retaining the AEW TNT Championship, Britt retaining the Women's Championship, and of course Paul White and QT Marshall. You know, Paul White, what a strong AEW debut on his way to another world title reign that everybody will forget about. Good for Paul White. But yeah, I think, is there anything quick you guys want to say on any of those 3 matches?
Yes.
Okay.
Miro is a freaking legend, and him posting I redeemed your nuts on Twitter just made that match all the worth it.
That is how we are going to start today. Lex, anything else?
Well, the refereeing continues to be top notch in AEW, but other than that, you know, not much to say.
Yeah, not much else to say indeed. And of course, just to quickly go back on Pete's point, what Lana tweeted, or CJ Perry now, we can't call it Lana anymore, what she tweeted after Miro's tweet saying that I'll redeem those when you get home. Oh my Lord Almighty. God bless CJ Perry. That's all I can say. So yeah, like I said, 9 matches on the card. We're going to go through again like the biggest points that we left out because again, there's so much detail to talk about, and this is one of the reasons why I bring on Lex because I know not only is he our AEW expert and our AEW fanboy, like the biggest one of all time. He's also a really, really big New Japan Pro Wrestling mark, which I love because I need more New Japan Pro Wrestling content and I need better voices than myself to talk about New Japan. And the reason why I bring up New Japan was the ending of Moxley and Kojima. Minoru Suzuki making an appearance in Chicago. I can't remember if he entered to the heel tunnel or the face tunnel, but he got a heck of a pop anyway. That beautiful
I think he enters through whatever tunnel he chooses to.
Exactly. That beautiful Kaze ni Nare that still throws me off when I was with Lex at Madison Square Garden in 2019. And that was a lot of fun. Gentlemen, thoughts on Suzuki? And now that they're going to reignite their feud for what it looks like in the Americas. Lex?
I mean, I will say when I went back and watched, since I watched All Out in a bar like I usually do, so that you can't hear the audio as well in there. So I went back and actually the Kaze ni Nare for Chicago was not as loud as I was hoping it would be. So
I want to say
you let me down there a little bit.
Pretty loud.
It was loud, but like, you know, most of those fans are there for CM Punk. They don't know who Minoru Suzuki is, so you know, I don't blame them.
Fair. I mean, again, like, I mean, I don't know. I've never heard like how we sounded at MSG, Lex.
Well, I think with us, there's a little asterisk because it was like the pre-show, so not everyone was in their seats yet. So I feel like, you know,
fair point. I'm just what I'm trying to say is like obviously.
But like I said, I think a lot of people know who he is.
What I'm trying to say is TV never does in-person justice, right? You go, the microphones are never strong with the crowd. So unless that was the case, but I don't know. But let's continue.
Yeah, you know, the match itself, you know, was good. It was good, you know, strong style kind of New Japan match. Moxley's elbow was like bleeding really bad. I don't know how that happened. But I think Moxley, he was bumping his ass off. He was selling his ass off for Kojima. I think a lot of these New Japan guys he's wrestling, whether it's Nagata, Kojima, who else did he fight? Whatever. Like a lot of these guys, he clearly respects them, and he clearly wants to, he's wrestling them because he wants to wrestle them because he respects them. So you can tell, he's kind of giving it all he's got, trying to make him look good, and pays respects. It was a good match. Obviously Moxley won. And then of course, the music stops and you hear Minoru Suzuki's music come out and everyone loses their minds. And Murder Grandpa strolls out onto the
Murder Grandpa
and everyone, yep. And they basically, I'm sure obviously there is a good amount of crossover between AEW fans and New Japan fans, but a lot of those fans, I think they're in the solid arena with CM Punk, so their New Japan knowledge might not be as textbook. But I've rewatched the clip from Wrestle Kingdom when Suzuki came out to confront Moxley like 100 times, so I could tell right away when he came out and they had their little standoff and they were fighting. It was basically a shot by shot kind of redo of their first encounter in the Tokyo Dome. They start fighting. Suzuki puts sleeper hold on Moxley. And Pala drives him, stands over him like, yeah, I'm the best. But it was still great. It was still awesome to see. And I look forward to seeing them reignite that feud, have another great match, probably on Dynamite or something like that. Because we know Suzuki is going to be
this Wednesday.
Yeah, we know. Hopefully they'll be on one of the shows I'm going to actually.
Yeah,
I'm going to the Newark show and possibly to the new.
I mean, it's literally this Wednesday. It's happening tomorrow.
Did they announce that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I didn't see that.
So of course, as always, as everybody knows, we tape these earlier in the week. We tape the episodes early in the week, and then we release them on Friday. So let's just assume that it was fun.
So it's already happened.
It's already happened technically.
So.
So great match. What a match.
But yeah, so I'm sure it was great, and we knew Suzuki. Well, I knew Suzuki was going to be in town because he's doing this U.S. tour right now. He's going to be in GCW. He's going to be on those New Japan U.S. shows. So I was kind of hoping he'd show up, and he actually did. So that was great. And I'm sure the match was awesome, and we'll see what else he does.
Pete, your thoughts on Suzuki appearing?
Yeah, the match itself was pretty decent. Like, I like that they gave Kojima a bit of time, let him get on all his little stuff for those who do like Kojima. And I actually quite like they threw a few little hints of Moxley being a bit of a heel in there, bit of disrespect every now and then to and it seems like Tony Khan almost said to John Moxley, went, "You're out of the title picture for a bit. You've had your bit with Eddie Kingston, so who do you want to feud with now?" And he just said Japan. And that's it. I just want to feud with Japan. So
the entire country.
Yeah, especially the legends. Anyone who's over 50. Let's do it that way. Mm-hmm. But I love Suzuki. Suzuki's fantastic, absolutely fantastic, and I do think he's got a bit more crowd recognition than obviously someone like Kojima to the modern day audience. He did get a really good pop when he came out, and I'm glad to see that. And yeah, I'm glad they also just absolutely just laid into each other instantly. No stare down, no nothing like that. No, I'll just immediately punch you and elbow you in the face and just start chopping each other instantly. None of this, oh, we'll have a bit of respect. I'll see you on Wednesday. No. Immediate violence I wanted. And yeah, fun. Enjoyed it.
Sometimes it works. And I think, obviously, you can technically call this a pay-per-view level match. No doubt about it. It's happened before, but I like I said, I'm okay with all this happening on Dynamite because of how spaced out their pay-per-views are, and it's just so tough to keep that build. I think with these smaller feuds, that is, unless it's a world title, but I think it's so tough to try to keep these going until 2-3 months without anything. So I can see I'm kind of happy it's happening on Dynamite. But like Pete said, I love the pop. I'm happy. It's exciting, and again, I think this is a great spot for Moxley right now. I don't need him in the title picture all the time. He had a great reign, don't get me wrong, but this is good, and it keeps fans wanting more, and everybody likes to see crazy Moxley. So this works out. I
will say before we move on, I actually had an idea I want to go into real quick about Suzuki possibly showing up in AEW before this happened. My idea for it was that because we know Lance Archer right now is feuding with Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page, and you have Dan Lambert out there cutting promos about we're basically stealing lines from Jim Cornette talking about AEW being a bunch of kids fighting and all this stuff, and him being an MMA guy, he's going into all that stuff. Talking about all the legit wrestlers and all the legit fighters out there. I thought it could lead to them beating up Archer, them double teaming him for a while, and Archer being like, okay, I'm gonna go get a tag team partner. We're gonna show you what shoot fighting looks like, and it's Minoru Suzuki because of course he and Archer go way back to the Suzuki Gun days. So I thought that could be a good place to debut Suzuki and AEW, but they jumped the gun. They surprised me, so good on them, I guess. And that can still happen. We'll see. Yeah,
like I said,
it works.
It works out.
Mhm.
Let's move on. And I am very excited for this one because one really, really loved it. The other was pissed. And I'm excited for this one, folks. We are going to we're going to talk about the steel cage match for the AEW World Tag Team Championship. The Lucha Brothers, Penta El Zero Miedo and Rey Fenix, taking on the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson. Brutal is a term I want to use right now. I'm going to go with my perspective first because, again, I got two beautifully polarizing and I wish I had popcorn. Fight, please, fight. Look, I think I've said this before. I don't know if I said it on the pod or if I said it on Ringside Heat because now I'm starting to get like my thoughts across mixed up with the amount of shows that I'm on Flex. It's not like when it comes to what happened in that match, that kind of brutality, I'm not that big of a fan anymore. I think solely because I just care about people's health and well-beings, and I wish, and I'm that guy, that wants like just shit done properly and as safely as possible. Like CGW, hell no, that is not for me at all. Especially with
You mean GCW?
Is it GCW?
Well, them too.
I rest my case. I don't know what.
There's GCW and there's CZW. Yeah.
The one that Mark Cardona.
I said CGW.
I said CG. The one that Mark Cardona won the world title and people started throwing bottles at him.
That's GCW.
Thank you. Yeah. I apologize.
They don't only do that stuff, but they do a lot of it.
Fair, exactly. Like the whole death match it's not my cup of tea. What was the last death match on AEW? It was
probably Moxley.
Jericho and Nick Gage. Right. Okay.
No, and he had the exploding barbed wire.
Yeah, I
Jericho and Nick Gage was the last one. Remember that?
I know, but I'm just saying before then as well.
Okay. So what I'm trying to say is like it's not my style of match, and it's not because I just like the WWE style better, or I'm just quote unquote soft. To me, it's not too visually appealing because I'm that guy that gets genuinely worried for them. I know they're safe and they're smart, and I'm sure they know what they're doing. But as a viewer, I'm like, if that happened to me, I hope I'm okay. Like I don't want to get seriously. But in saying that, I thought that worked for what they did, even though it wasn't for people like me. I thought it worked. I thought the finish I thought it was a good, happy conclusion because I can't stand the Young Bucks. Like, and that's either you can call it a shoot or a work. I just can't stand them. I'm not a fan of them. I'm happy they lost the titles. And I'm happy something different because I don't like the attention on the Young Bucks. I find them like just the whole super kick, flippy stuff annoying now. But again,
yes, so you'll go to love a Lucha Bros, right?
Yeah, I mean, I like it's not my style, but just the Bucks just irritate me. But so again, I thought it worked. It's just again not my style. The shoe, the Jordans with the thumbtacks, I thought was scary as hell when I saw it come out of the bag. I'm like, oh no. And the way that they used it, I'm like, okay, I guess that's the quote unquote safest way possible to do that. Because of course, my first thought is they're going to step on somebody's back and it's going to be absolutely painful and or disgusting. And if they stepped on somebody's face, even worse. I guess, thank God. I think
they sort of did.
They somewhat did. But again, like, I'm still not wanting to see that. I'm like, oh God, good God. But it was I felt bad. Whose kids was it in the front row? Pentagons, yeah. It's very similar to I think Lex, you said it in our group chat. Similar to Mankind at the Royal Rumble in '98. Their wife and kids crying because they're seeing what Daddy's going through. A carbon copy of it, and like when I saw the kids, I'm like, holy crap! Why would you bring them to?
I felt really bad for them.
Row.
I mean, they were crying with joy at the end. So
was that joy? They didn't look like joy to me.
That didn't look like joy.
The wife looked like joy. The kids looked like, oh my God, my daddy is bleeding.
My dad's getting his ass.
I don't care what the context is. Moment at the end.
I don't know.
Anyway, so like I said, I'm not a fan of the brutality. I'm not a fan of like that style. But hey, I thought the match worked, and I thought the match was fine. Who wants to go first in stating their points here? Pete, you can go first. Go ahead.
Fair enough. Well, I'm putting this in my top 3 candidates for match of the year as it stands.
There we go.
Up there with Ospreay Takagi. It's up there with like Utami Sayuri. from Stardom. That was unbelievable. This is up there with Dragunov and Walter for me. Like, it's obviously the complete opposite style of matches, and you cannot compare them in any way whatsoever because it's impossible. It's an entirely different style of match. And yes, I will 100% acknowledge this style of match is definitely not for everyone by a long shot. But you go into this match knowing exactly what you are going to get. You are going to get a lot of flips. You are going to get a lot of destroyers. You are going to get brutality. It's a cage match. There's going to be blood. There's going to be violence. There's going to be super kicks. All of this is going to happen. You know in advance going in that all that is going to happen. And if you don't like that type of stuff, there's no point in watching this match because it was always going to be that match. They didn't falsely advertise it as this was going to be Walter versus Dragunov. They didn't falsely advertise this was going to be a Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker. This was always going to be flippy, destroyers, mental, any move you could think you can do, I can do a move with 8 more flips in it. But in terms of that type of match, this cage stipulation mattered, and whether you like them or not, outside of the few little corny bits, the Bucks and Lucha Bros had an absolute total car wreck of glorious, chaotic madness for me. And to be honest, there was actually more storytelling in this match than I thought they would be. And I'm pointing it out that way. There was not a lot, but they actually had bits of, I'm actually going to sit in front of my brother and protect my brother. I'm going to get in that way. I'm going to have this type of fighting from underneath. I'm going to tell my brother, no, this is your moment. Get on top of the cage. They actually had a few moments where I went, yeah, they're actually doing something more than just the moves in this match, which was more than I expected. I expected 0 in this match going in. So, yeah. But a recent quote I heard someone say was like, pro wrestling is giving the people what they want, but making them wait long enough to get it. And a Bucks win tonight would have been bad. And it would have just changed the reaction for a lot of people in this match. So the people with me who really loved it, loved the moment and everything, it would have changed it. Because I think a lot of companies, this is not WWE, I think it's happening in AEW, I think it has an impact, New Japan, all these companies miss the mark of when to change a title or when to give it to someone else. And I think they timed it right here. And I think they went, this is the right time to do it. They gave the Lucha Bros that entrance. That entrance was absolutely phenomenal as well. All the cultural reference, unbelievable entrance. They gave them that. They gave them this type of match. And I know you're criticizing it, but that moment with Penta and his daughter after the match, it genuinely nearly brought tears to my eyes. I was that emotionally invested at that point in their victory. And so was the crowd. The crowd was so white hot.
That's true.
That victory, for that win. And I've seen people online, I've seen people in our group chat basically saying, I was nearly in tears at this match. And at the end of it, I mean, a match can have that type of emotional reaction to anybody, to give them that type of reaction. It's a phenomenal match. And that's kind of the end of it. You cannot say it's not a phenomenal match if it can invoke that type of emotional investment from anybody in it. Anyway, yeah, it's not for everybody. Yeah, some people aren't going to enjoy this much. Yeah, if you like traditional wrestling, it's not going to be for you. But if you like this style of match, and I like this style of match,
it's going to work.
This is about the pinnacle of this type of match.
Work, yeah.
This is maybe the best type of this match there has ever been in regards to that. Everything they did, they executed perfectly. They weren't botching. It was violent. It was brutal. There was holy shit moments left, right, and center. And in terms of that match, I'm not sure you can even top it. In terms of that style of match, I'm not sure this one can be topped.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. Thank you, Pete. And I just want to quickly go back to your point of, knowing when to change your right titles. And a perfect example I can think of is what Lex is wearing right now, because I believe you're wearing a WrestleMania 34 shirt. Are you not? Yes, you are. Miro or Rusev not getting the U.S. title at that moment in the Superdome.
Yeah.
To me, for some odd reason, to this day, and it's been a lot has happened since then, a lot happened before, but for some odd reason, when it comes to not changing a title at the right moment, that's the only moment I can think of that just stands out as as the massive mess, as a massive screw up to this day. I'm sure there are other moments, but
Yeah,
for some odd
there are
reason,
a few that stand out to me in other promotions, like Joe not getting a title in TNA for like way too long when he was white hot and he just didn't get
right.
it. I think they held off giving the title to Ibushi for too long in New Japan before he was starting to dip down
Also
as
that, I
well.
also heard
that
Those
as
that.
well.
Yeah.
those type of things where, or a reign just gets too long as well. So you have the reverse of it where I'm fed up with this title reign now. He should have dropped it 3 months ago.
I'm
And
gonna
there's
bring
those
that
as
up.
well.
I'm gonna bring that up later on in the show because yes, I do have an example for that one as well. But I don't know, for some odd reason, Rusev is the one that stands out to
If
me
you
way
say
too
Omega,
much.
I'm going to tell you you're wrong.
Okay,
So-
can't wait for that one later on. Yeah, just Rusev to me is just it's always gonna be oh no. I don't know what it is about that
You
reign,
heard
but
stories about like people going around town in New Orleans and hearing just every block people just chanting Rusev Day
Rusev
all the
Day.
time
Yeah,
as they're
I have a
partying.
Rusev
Like,
Day shirt in my drawer. Like there's a Rusev Day shirt behind me. Like it happens. But anyways, that's besides the point. I just wanted to kind of make that connection with Pete because I think it's a very very valid point. Alex, I tease you, but obviously you have your opinion and it's totally cool. You do have the complete opposite, so go for it. What was your take on the match?
okay, so you go into a cage match, and I've heard this critique of WWE, and I do agree with it. When you have a cage match and there's no blood or anything, like, I think on some levels a cage match needs to have blood, whether it's a steel cage, whether it's Hell in a Cell. Like, if you have a cage with no blood, it's just sort of, meh, whatever.
The Elimination Chamber, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It kind of just becomes, whatever. It stops feeling special. That being said, a cage match where the blood comes from a sneaker with thumbtacks glued to the bottom of it is sort of where I draw the line between a brutal classic, Brett and Owen style cage match versus a match a bunch of indie guys have in their backyard and say, what if we glued thumbtacks to a shoe and hit each other with it? That's where the line gets drawn for me.
When you say it like that,
that was kind of where that was my thought. That was my thought when I saw that. Like, for the rest of the match, I was like, okay, yeah, this is a Young Bucks Lucha Bros match, doing some impressive stuff. There's not a lot of selling. We're just going from move to move, and they're good looking moves, but it's about what I expected. And then it sort of took a turn for me where I just completely checked out after that. I mean, I don't know. I might have enjoyed the rest of the match if they hadn't gone to that, but that just completely took me out of it. And seeing them, do these super kicks that I'm sure if you looked close enough, probably weren't landing, which is probably a good thing considering what you were doing. But then, just the ridiculous, like, shoving the shoes into their heads and just making them bleed and just, I don't know. And like I said, like, blood, there should be blood in a cage match. And oftentimes blood can elevate a match from being just, good to great. But when it comes from something like that, then it kind of just, for me, it just sort of distracts from where, like, it just distracts from where it's like, okay, he's bleeding because this match is so, intense, versus, okay, he's bleeding because they had the idea, oh, let's put thumbtacks on a shoe and friggin' stab each other in the head with it, Then it stops being like, I'm no longer invested in the story. Now I'm just thinking like, okay, who came up with this and why did they come up with it? So, and I think maybe I would have enjoyed it more near the end if that hadn't been a part of it, because they get into the false finishes. There's about like 50 false finishes, and as a fan of NXT, I cannot non-hypocritically complain about too many false finishes. But like, I don't know. After the shoe, I was just sitting there like I was ready for the match to end. I thought after the shoe came out, after we do a bunch of, like, we do super kicks with the shoe, whatever we do with it, that should be the end of the match, but it wasn't. And it just kept going and going. There was like 50 different false finishes where I'm just like, I would like this to end soon, please. I'm not invested in it the way everyone else is. And everyone else clearly was invested in it. And that's great for them. But I don't know, just something about that aspect of the match just completely took me out of it to the point where I was just waiting for it to end. I knew Phoenix was going to do a dive off the top of the cage. It wouldn't be a Ray Phoenix match if he didn't.
I'm just thankful he didn't do the pile driver.
Yeah,
I was terrified for a second there that
Yeah,
they
I know
couldn't do that
that
double
would have
stomp
been.
pile drive, and I was like,
Yeah, no,
please
that would
don't
have
do
been
that.
horrible. And speaking of pile drivers, they did do the spot which I know they've done before in a previous match, where they're both standing on the apron with the other's partner in a pile driver, and instead of like one of them trying to save their brother from getting potentially his neck broken, they just look at each other, nod, and do it at the exact same time. That I hate that spot with a passion.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that one. I'll give you
And
that one.
and what Pete said about Pentagon coming to shield Phoenix from harm. If you're able to move that quick, why not charge into the guy about to do it and like stop him from hitting either of you? There's just
I feel like he more crawled in front of him rather than
maybe I don't know, but just
yeah.
There are just too many spots like that where I'm like, this does not feel like a fight. This does not feel like a brutal fight between enemies. This feels like. And the other spot I hated was the super kick thing, where super kick goes down, super kick, kip up, super kick, just over and over again. And I was like, this is a video game. This is not a fight. This is a video game.
I do miss a time when the super kick was just like
you were saying that before.
I was saying, and you guys made fun of me when I said it was watered down.
In his not grave. But it's, if you enjoyed it, great. I understand that kind of style of match appeals to some people. I honestly was surprised to see Lucha Bros win. I didn't think they were going to win. Clearly, the fans are happy about that, and I like Lucha Bros just fine. I love their work in Lucha Underground, so I am fans of them. I'm happy that they won the match. I don't know if this is how I would have ended the Young Bucks 300-day reign, but clearly the fans wanted it. So at the end of the day, giving the fans what they want, I guess, is the most important thing in wrestling. So good for them. But if it wasn't already obvious, there were parts of this match that really were not for me.
Yeah, and I think again, and that's why I brought up earlier why this kind of match is not for me. Like, I think I would appreciate it. I think I appreciate color or blood more if it came naturally, right? If it's like if it wasn't forced, like the boot, right? Because again,
I feel like for an example, I feel like if that Walter Dragunov match you brought up was not in a WWE ring, they would have been like, okay, open up the stitches in Dragunov's head, make him bleed in the match. Because that way it'll look, people will believe it's real, because those stitches from the match he had. So that's like a way to get blood that isn't like super distracting. It's like you might actually think, oh God, his stitches broke open by accident, even if it wasn't an accident. Something like that is what I prefer.
Yeah, same here. And Pete, your thoughts on that?
I'm not sure I'm a big fan of the let's break up someone's actual injury by accident rather than
it's not
than
a
I am
super
of
fatal injury. It's not going to kill him.
I mean,
depending on where it is.
I'm still a bit like more cautious of doing more damage to something that's there than I'm not actually the biggest fan of blood. I know it adds to a match, but like that bit's not the bit that's important to me. And in a lot of cases, I do think it does add in a lot of cases, but it's never the make or break for me. But honestly, I would rather every single blood thing was caused by bleeding, because at the end of the day, in general, unless someone isn't taught how to do it properly, it is safe, rather than we don't get another, was it SummerSlam 2016 or 2017? The Randy Orton. Randy Orton versus Brock, where they went the hard way, and I looked at that and went, that's not what I want to see in the ring.
No, yeah, there's like I said, and I think what Lex is trying to see too, there's a balance that I think Lex and I would want to see, right? I mean, we don't want to see thumbtacks with shoes. We also want to see a big 300-pound man with his forearm tackling somebody's head.
Yeah, so what I'd almost agree with you more on is, I know it happens and fans see it happen nowadays, but the ones I prefer is, thumbtacks with shoes is kind of stupid. It fits the Young Bucks gimmicks of going at the shoes so bloody much and like random skits and whatever, but I prefer to see is like a false weapon shot followed by a sneaky blade.
And the thing is,
which is safe. Totally safe.
It's a cage match. You could just grab the guy's head, ram it into the cage wall over and over. He comes up bleeding. People both believe that's believable.
And I guess that spot's not for everyone. I didn't mind it. It wasn't a break or break. It wasn't like a top spot in the match for me either. But the thing is, like, you say that you didn't think the Lucha Bros were going to win. As soon as they had that entrance, I was like, yeah, they're 100% winning this match. They're not wasting that entrance on them losing the titles. I was like, they've gone all out, for no pun intended, for this match. But
just before we move on, there's an old coworker of mine, that I used to work with on my old job. He's a huge shoe collector. He's a massive.
My cousin is too. So
like a match, like sneakerhead. That's one. Like a sneakerhead. He shared the photo of Nick Jackson holding the shoe, and his caption was, "What the fuck is this?"
Like, why would you deface such a great shoe?
Why
with
would you
thumbtacks?
deface the shoe? He's like, what the hell are they doing to the shoe? Because like, are those Jordans?
Oh, the humanity.
I forgot what style of Jordans they are, but they're like, what are they doing to the shoe? It was so funny. I'm like, oh my god. Well, AEW hit mainstream. They hit this, they took
I
it the
say
sneakerhead.
hilariously though, if he now sticks that up on eBay, I guarantee it'll go for like 30 times the price.
Oh,
you
Oh, yeah,
absolutely.
because wrestling fans are crazy.
I
yeah.
want the shoe that they use for thumbtacks, please.
I want the shoe covered
Yeah.
in thumbtacks that has Penta's blood on it. Yeah, that's
Let's
what I want.
Wrestling fans are nuts.
let's
Yeah.
move on. Thank you for the conversation, gentlemen. Let's move on to the first or actually the second debut of the night. It was the Casino Battle Royale, the Women's World Championship match, which again I've said before in the past when it came to reviewing Double or Nothing. I love the style of Battle Royale where people come at it in certain pockets and then boom, have fun. And the Joker, the wild card, the final entry, normally a surprise or a return. It's Ruby Soho, or formerly known as Ruby Riott in WWE. She made her debut. She wins the Casino Battle Royal and immediately gets thrown into the title picture and receives a future championship opportunity against Britt Baker at some point in time. Ruby looked happy, which normally is the case when these people make their debuts, but she looked happy. She said in the media scrum after that she felt like she was right at home as soon as she came out. So I'm very happy for her. Obviously, that was one of the names that we've heard for a while. If we were going to see her in AEW, and I was going to say something I forgot, but point is, I'm very happy to see here. It did feel right. We were waiting to see when. I know what I was going to say. We were waiting to see when the 90-day no compete clause expired from WWE's contract. Clearly, it's up. But she came out, big pop, wins the match, last eliminating Thunder Rosa. I'm a big fan. Lex, really quickly, thoughts on Ruby's new home?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of remarkable the way that AEW, like, I have to admit, it is impressive the way that when you know something is coming versus when it's a complete surprise. There are merits to, I guess, both seemingly, because when the Joker thing came out, graphic came out, people were already chanting Ruby Soho, like they were ready for it. And when they're ready for it and you give it to them versus when they're not expecting it at all, like, I don't know, like I feel like when done right, there are definitely like merits to both. So yeah, she came out, she looked awesome. Like she was clearly emotional to be there and everything. I think being in WWE for so long, when you're just like you're just a random part of the roster, you're not really treated like a star, and then to come out to get that huge reaction from the fans for you, like that has to be, a crazy, great feeling.
Yeah.
She comes out, she's great. It comes down to her and Thunder Rosa, which were my two picks to win. I was personally rooting for Thunder Rosa, but it was still at the end and also back and forth. I would love to see those two in a singles match. And in the end, Ruby won, and that surprised me a little bit, but she's going right into the title picture, like great for her, and I'm sure it'll be a great match. I assume it'll happen on Dynamite. That is sort of the theme with AEW Casino Battle Royals. The winners usually get a title shot on Dynamite rather than waiting 2 months for the pay-per-view. So I'll look forward to that match, and great. I'm happy for her, and I think this is honestly the best place for her, considering everything she's done on the Indies and things like that. I think this is a great home for her, and I look forward to seeing what she does.
Yeah, I was a bit surprised too, giving her the win. Like, obviously, I know some people out there can be somewhat skeptical when they say, like, "Oh, wait, really? You throwing her right into it? What? Why did they deserve that? Why did they earn that?" I'm like, I think for Ruby, I think it works for her to be in the title scene right away because I think you need that fresh face as well for the division.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm a big fan of that. Pete, your thoughts on Ruby?
First of all, I'm not at all surprised she won.
Okay.
I was convinced she was winning this match, and if we were doing a predictions contest, she would have been my pick in this match.
She would have been your pick.
Won it. First things first, I still hate this battle royal format. I genuinely, it is.
I get it. Yeah, I get it.
It's still my least
I get
favorite
it. I
thing
get it.
that AEW
It's
do
very hit or
and have
miss.
made. I hate it. I hate the format. I hate the suits. I hate all that.
I think the fact
fart.
that
Yes, it is a fart. You're right.
The fact that like their camera work is not the best when it comes to these matches also kind of hinders it.
Just
I think.
Make it a bloody rumble. Just make it a 21 person, like
Right.
1 minute interval rumble, and
You
just
don't
do
need to
that
reinvent
instead.
the wheel.
Like, or I think I said it in one of the different ones. Make it a wheel and make it a roulette wheel with all the competitors on. That would be fun as well. There you go. Reinvent the wheel. Actually, make a wheel. I love it for Ruby, and I think the reason like Thunder Rosa's not winning this is I'm fairly convinced she is the one taking that title off Britt eventually. So I think they're just going to hold off to a big pay-per-view. Might be the next one. It might even be Revolution or something next year. And I think they're going to hold off on Thunder Rosa winning that title because I also don't think they want to take the belt off Britt right now because she is white hot right now. Like like it's kind of a weird one because she is a heel, but she's cheap like a face, and it's kind of like
I've been saying
she's
that,
this weird
yes.
tweener vibe type thing, and I quite like she hasn't changed the character for it, but
You don't have
like
to.
she is so over as a heel in the weirdest way possible, but like she genuinely feels like a star, so they're not going to take the title off her, and I think to elevate Ruby into the title picture straight away gives her that welcome. But the big thing for me is seeing Ruby in tears saying she's never had chance for her before. And that was one of the things she said. And I was like, that just makes me feel really happy. Just getting that type of fan reaction and seeing how emotional it made her, and her already saying she feels like she's at home and those type of things. Like she's everything you hear about Ruby Soho is she is the nicest person, apparently. Everybody says it about her. She is just the nicest person.
You saw so much Twitter congratulations for her when she like people from
Oh,
PPVs
yeah,
still in
a
WWE,
lot of
you know,
a lot of
saying they're so happy
WWE
for her.
talent.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what Sarah Logan and Liv Morgan, are going through as well with that.
Absolutely.
And it's funny. I mean, like, you know, I think her saying, you know, not really getting a good chance is really good here because obviously she was just thrown randomly in the middle of the title picture, undeleted to WrestleMania 34 when she got that random title shot against Charlotte at Fastlane.
2 years in a row. 2 years
right.
in a row.
Like you're just throwing her in there for filler because you know that they need to just keep the champ strong going into your biggest show of the year. When this time around, you know, she makes her debut, but it's like it feels more genuine and a more proper opportunity to get that chance to kind of be equal as opposed to, well, you're gonna go up against Charlotte, but Charlotte still needs that upper hand. She's a month away from WrestleMania. You know, you're not.
Well, I mean, you also have that with Britt. Like she's going to go against Britt, and Britt is obviously going to win that match. But at the same time, I think she earned that shot though.
Exactly. I'm just saying,
like a star this time.
That's what I'm saying. That if this feels more genuine than it did when she got thrown into the title picture, just to protect the champion. Yes, she is obviously Britt is obviously going to be elevated, but at least this time around, it feels like she's even or can get to even as opposed to we just need somebody because we're a month away from WrestleMania. Just do what you got to do.
Like,
go.
Like
do
nothing
the lion.
against her, nothing against her, but I think it is like big fish in a smaller pond this time, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
And my thought is like, you know, I think, you know, with all the buzz and hype behind her and how much everyone loves her, like this is not going to be a Red Velvet case where Red Velvet basically becomes a heel from now on because everyone like loves Britt so much more than her. I think they'll be pretty much on an even playing field this time. So I look forward to that match.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's just a point I wanted to make there. And I think we're all in agreement. We're happy for Ruby. And we hope that Ruby has a good run in AEW. I'm sure she will. I'm sure she will because I know that women's division can use some star power like Ruby Soho. We have to talk about it because I don't know where the hell we go for this. Chris Jericho, MJF. If Chris Jericho lost, he would never be allowed to wrestle in AEW. No, I don't think ever wrestling again. Just in AEW.
They're very specific about their words.
Yeah, he was not allowed to wrestle in AEW again. I mean, I think I know I've said it. I know I said this on Ringside Heat on the other show that I just got so sick of this storyline being dragged on the way that it has that I tuned out so hard. I'm like, oh my god, how are we still doing this? I thought this was all said and done, especially after the whole like the set of matches that they were. I thought that's what they were all like. I thought this was it, and it wasn't. The finish of the match, what had me initially and like the original finish, I should say, the first finish had me in anger because the way that Jericho lost, you know, with like, you know, the referee not seeing the foot on the rope, and so obviously, you know, my mindset is they're going to continue this. They're going to continue this and say that Chris Jericho unfairly lost. Okay, fine. To Full Gear, November 13th. I was ready to snap. I'm like, you guys are not doing that. You're absolutely not doing that. But then thankfully the ref, which again, this makes sense. I don't know how this doesn't happen more often where another referee comes down. Hey, look, we're backstage. Look, we're watching the same thing that we just saw something you didn't see. Jericho had his foot on the rope. What? He had his foot on the rope. Yeah, start the match again. Perfect. Referee accountability, folks. Referees are people too. I was a big fan of that, and of course, eventually Jericho gets the win. Of course, there was rumors that he was gonna lose because he had the tour with Fozzy coming up. But hey, Jericho wins. He can still wrestle. I hope that this is it. But I'm happy that they made sense with the referees and saying, "Hey, stop! You missed something. Keep it going." Pete.
So just to clarify on that referees thing, the only reason they actually had that spot and how they created that spot is because the referee was already out there. So the second referee was already down by the ring because he'd been involved in clearing out Wardlow and Hager, which is why they happens for this match, and it doesn't happen in, say, the Miro and Kingston match for the low blow. So they don't call out the ref in that situation because there isn't a second ref out there to spot the low blow. So it isn't like watching the video backstage. It's genuinely the second ref is stood by ringside, goes, I saw his foot on the rope. I saw his foot on the rope. Says it to Aubrey and goes, his foot was on the rope. I saw it from outside the ring. And Aubrey, the person who obviously has to get everything right in AEW, is like, yep, restart the match. I'm fine with that. I'm not making mistakes. Like, I'm not having a bad error referee go on my record. Don't let that happen.
Yeah, what I'm trying to say is that, like, it just in general, even if the referee was there or not, and I realized that I messed up my words because I guess I didn't realize that the second ref was already down there.
Yeah.
That what I'm trying to say is, like, it just still makes sense for a second referee at some point in time.
The issue I have is, like, it happened. I think it was one of the New Day versus Usos matches where a second referee came running down out the back and restarted the match and something. I'm like, that sets a precedent that you can't ever do a false screwy finish and leave it at a false screwy finish. Whereas at least this way, they haven't set a precedent because the second referee was there to spot it at the time. And I'm like, at least you've given yourself some leeway in that regard. In terms of the bad things, this match shouldn't really have happened. Or if this match had happened, it should have been the final labor of Jericho, having it do the final labor of Jericho and then do the rematch. That was weird. I was still quite invested when the Labors of Jericho was going. I saw no problem then, but that should have been the end of the feud. Either way, whether Jericho won or lost that final match, that should have been the end of the feud for me. The other bad thing, Jericho's entrance fucking sucked.
Oh my god! Thank you. I forgot.
And MJF's entrance was
perfect.
Phenomenal.
Yeah,
but
it was perfect.
That guitar play was either out of time, it was too loud, it was out of tune, it was just shockingly bad.
Like, I get it, fan interaction, and it worked the first time, and I know fans love singing it, but I think Jericho and the crew got too confident with it, and they're saying they'll sing to anything, they'll get anything, they bring the guitarist in. Yeah. You are beautiful on the inside. Like, it just felt so off, and I'm like, and I think Jericho noticed
I didn't mind the dead silence one where they did it that way, but he's had great entrances. Remember we had like the choir come out and sing them out. He had a church choir sing Judas, which is just perfectly fitting. But when he did entrances like that, they worked so well. And this is one that was good on paper, and you think of things like Nakamura's entrance when he's had like a violin player and all that kind of thing. Yeah, and it's one of those that's good on paper. And then you realize that the fans have no idea where this guitarist is at in the song. What the hell's going on? Because the guitar is too loud, too out of tune, and going too fast.
No, I don't think it was that. I think the guitar
as well.
I think the guitar
wasn't the right.
Yeah, the tempo. I think the guitars was too slow, and the fans were already, but like near the chorus, while he's still like midway through the first verse. I'm like, you got to speed it up, buddy.
It was the other way around. He was too quick.
Oh, was it too quick?
It was genuinely too quick. Yeah,
too quick.
The fans were almost trying to play catch up with him and got lost.
You are beautiful on the inside.
Pretty much. But in terms of the actual match, I thought it was a decent match. I don't think it was as good as the Fifth Labor match. I don't think it was as good as that one. I don't think it was as good as the one last year where it was MJF joins in a circle. I don't think it was as good as that one either. But I thought it was decent enough. I didn't mind the false finish thing. It gives MJF something to whine about going forwards. And if you were going to have Jericho win, this was probably the way to do it.
Yeah.
But MJF, and that's all I want to say, MJF is too fucking good. And I'm fed up of it. He's already one of the best promos. And he's already trying to make a move into one of the best wrestlers on the roster as well. And he's too young to be that good. He's younger than me, and I don't like it. And like in 5-10 years' time, we could look at him as potentially the greatest wrestler all round on the planet because he has that potential with the level of promo he is. Being that conniving heel and his in-ring work is not that far behind now. Because I used to think, maybe he's pretty average in ring. he's actually not. And at this point, I almost think he's carrying Jericho in these matches, which I know Jericho's getting on a bit, but like that's still no mean feat just to be that good. And freaking hell, MJF, get worse.
So with MJF, sometimes I think I admire his work, but I also kind of want, like, one side of me kind of wants to tell MJF, to cool the heelness, because sometimes he gets too heelish. Like, he really embraces the kayfabe, like, on and
tell
off.
MJF to cool the
I know. I'm not gonna, like, again, this is like MJF. If you, for some stupid reason, come across this, I'm just saying, you can tell me to F off or whatever, or I like there was I don't want to say like the word out, but you guys know what I'm going to talk about. But like there was a little girl who gave
I was just thinking about that,
the middle finger to MJF, and MJF's words to the response to it is so. I don't want to say it because
is it too late to abort? That's what he said.
Okay, so Lex says it for me. I just didn't want to bring. I didn't want to enter that territory. That's just not. That's
but like they were asking for it. Like the kid had a show that said, "I hate MJF." What do they expect was going to happen?
They were asking for that response, that specific response.
They know what they signed up for. Come on.
No, come on.
Like when Brody Lee Jr. hit him with a kendo stick on the Brody Lee show, he said, "Fuck that kid."
What was that? What was that, Pete?
So I'm fully down with those type of.
You're down with it. Okay.
As long as they're provoked, I guess in a way, I have no issue.
I mean, okay. I mean, like, I'm not. Yeah, the subject matter, and again, this is not a debate. This is not an open debate.
It's not the time or place.
It's not. No. It's just simply not a debate. All I'm just saying is, like, just the subject matter sometimes can be like, oh, MJF, calm yourself, because you're crossing territories that people legitimately fight and get upset.
Pull a Max Caster. That's all I was saying.
Exactly. That's all.
It's 100% no. I'm just saying. If you play with fire, you can eventually get burned and say something like
that's what I'm scared of for MJF.
But I think he's smart. I think he knows what he's doing.
I think he does.
I hope so. I don't doubt that. Like, and like Pete said, I do think that MJF.
I'm just impressed in this day and age that someone can genuinely be fully respected as a hated heel.
It's ridiculous.
They don't exist in this current climate. He's pretty much the only one around. Like Roman's a different type of big badass heel, but this kind of like whiny heel. In terms of like he's scheming, conniving,
and it's heel work that goes beyond the ring, right? Because Roman still does. Because Roman still does his interviews.
He's not like a complete coward. He is a coward, but he's not a. He doesn't have to cheat to win.
He's not the Miz.
He doesn't have to cheat to win, but he sometimes does anyway because that's what he does.
But like I said, it works because even outside of the ring, like on social media, even in interviews, a few public interviews, he still sells it and he still makes you hate him. And if he's doing that, he's doing his job. Like, I think there was one interview.
That's what I mean, but it sometimes crosses a line, especially someone like Miz. And I'm going to use Miz as an example because Miz goes like in and out of this. But there's arsehole whiny heel, and there's arsehole whiny heel that I don't want to see on my TV screen. And that's the kind of difference. Is MJF is this arsehole heel that I hate. I want to see him get beat. I want to see someone pummel his face in. But I still want to see him on my television screen. Like week in, week out. Whenever he's on, I'm intrigued with what's going on. Miz sometimes was that. And he has gone through phases where I'm like, yeah, I do want to see Miz. I do want to see what's going on here. And there are times where I'm like, just get off my screen. I can't be asked for this.
Yeah. Like I said, I think what I'm trying to say is like MJF plays with fire. He loves playing with fire. I'm just worried that I'm just worried that there may be a time, and there's already been a few scares with MJF where it's just so far that it can be irreversible, and in the excuse of that he's a heel may not work anymore. That's all I'm worried about. Lex, we're driving off here.
I'll be quick.
Yeah, you're quick. Yeah, your thoughts on this whole
on the topic of Twitter. I'm just going to read real quick, if this is allowed, a social media post by Chris Jericho regarding this match. Jericho versus MJF was the longest storyline of my career and one of the best. The angle started in September of 2020 and ended last night at one of the greatest pay-per-views of all time, with the good guy making the bad guy tap out. The angle between Inner Circle and Pinnacle was full of twists, turns, comedy, tragedy, friendship, betrayal, blood, bubbly, and genuine animosity. But overall, I feel it was a brilliantly, expertly told tale that was one of the best in the business in the last 20 years. I hope all of you enjoyed watching this pro wrestling magnum opus as much as we did telling it. On to the next challenge.
Just 3 weeks too long.
Yeah.
3 weeks too long,
yeah,
man.
You can maybe say that. Yeah, I think so.
Here's the thing. the match itself was fine. It was I think about as good as it was going to be. But here's the thing: the idea of we told the best it was the best storyline. We did everything right in terms of the good guy beat the bad guy at the end. The perfect ending would have been the match on Dynamite. The established star puts over the young up and coming star. That would have been the perfect. Just put a bookmark in it. Boom. MJF moves on to bigger and better things. But instead, we had to get one more match where Jericho wins in the end. And you can say what you will about MJF won 3 different times, and then then a week later he was either sprayed with a bubbly truck, or he was thrown in a pool or whatever it was. They did. So I feel they did so much to just take whatever heat they could off MJF before it got too much. I feel like him losing in the end, when he, in my opinion, was never really presented as strong as he could have been, given the storyline going in. I thought that was just a complete wrong move. I feel bad for MJF. And now with all these new stars we're going to talk about coming into the company, I worry that MJF is never going to be a top star in AEW. I worry he's not going to ever be the champion.
He's like 24 though, isn't he?
I know, but hold that thought. The thing is, because he's 24, this is not the be-all, end-all for him. But because there's all these new guys in there, I think, he may not get his chance to be a top star in AEW. In WWE, there's obviously plenty of time for that to happen. But I don't know with AEW.
I do agree, but at the same time, I just want to say, like, in 5 or 6 years' time, there's a good chance Daniel Bryan's not wrestling anymore.
Sure.
CM Punk's probably gone by then again. Like, Jericho's obviously going to be gone by then. Or at most, he's going to be wrestling like once a year or whatever he is by that point. So a lot of those established stars are also going to disappear off the back. So even though they're big now, and in 5 or 6 years' time, you're then going to look to the younger talent again and be, because this is only MJF's second singles loss in AEW history. His only other one was a world title match to Jon Moxley. So it's not like he's going to suffer. And to be honest, I kind of agree with everything Jericho said. If that 5 Labors match was the last match,
I would agree too.
Like, in terms of the storyline, everything, you started off with comedy skit segments. You had the joining the inner circle, you had the breaking up of the inner circle, you had the forming of the Pinnacle, you had their rivalry, you had the blood and guts, you had the stadium stampede, you had the breaking up, you had the 5 Labs. All of it is incredibly good long-term storytelling until you finish the 5 Labors and went, one more rematch, mate. And that was it. He just went from really compelling storyline to build a final match to one more rematch. And the rematch isn't too many matches. It's just in the terms of the storyline, it was one too many matches.
Yeah.
Because it's only their 3rd singles match in the entire year-long feud. And each served a different purpose. Sorry, the first 2 served a different purpose. Obviously, Final of the Labors and MJF joining the inner circle. Both fine. Just, there wasn't a reason for this last match. And putting your career on the line is, in my opinion, at this point, unless you're actually going to retire.
And they did the exact same thing with the Stadium Stampede match. If the Inner Circle lost, they could no longer be a team. They already did this.
It's tacky.
Yeah.
It's having that stipulation doesn't work unless you
commit to
act on that stipulation.
There's one precedent. It's Cody.
It happened with Roman and Cena. Everybody was saying the same thing about Roman and Cena. Like, why did you add that? It was fine. What are you guys doing? Why did you say
the Young Bucks FTR match where it's like, we never get a title shot again if we lose. There's no reason to do that.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I get the kind of last ditch, this is the only way I'm going to get a match. And there have been examples was it Ziggler and Miz where he put his career on the line? That was a fantastic story.
But people thought Ziggler might actually be leaving when they did that, I remember.
Yeah, and that's the kind of thing you have to believe. And to be honest, the Dynamite before did sell me slightly that, okay, might actually lose this. But even then I was like, it just feels forced addition to the story rather than natural continuation of said story.
Yeah, I agree. So my point is that I don't think MJF should have lost. I think, where does he go from here? We can't put him against CM Punk because he just lost to Jericho. He's lost this year-long feud to Jericho. He's not in the position right now. They could build him back up. I don't fully believe they will, but we'll see. Like Pete said, there's plenty of time. He's got plenty of time left. I just think that the result and the stipulation was, and having another match was not the right move on their part. And people will say MJF technically won because he got the pin, but then it got restarted and he got beat. So I I think I see what they were kind of going for, trying to protect him or elevate him or whatever, but I don't think it worked personally.
I think they were actually just going for the shock moment. Oh my God, Jericho actually lost.
Maybe. Actually, no, but no. When he had his foot on the rope, I was immediately like, okay, they're going to start the match. They're going to be started. Like I knew right away, just personally.
I actually thought they weren't, and I thought they were going to use it as an out to say Jericho had a reason that he didn't have
that's
to
what I
leave
thought
again.
too.
That was my initial reaction.
My thought was they're going to be started.
Yeah, that's why I said at the top of this discussion. That's why I said like they're going to bring it back and then restart this rivalry again at the next Double or Nothing or whatever or a Revolution. That was my anger until they restarted the match. Let's move on because we still got two other big talking points to talk about, and of course we got to talk about
Paul White versus QT. No,
shut your mouth. I'm hosting this damn show. It ain't you. It's the 7-year return, a 7-year wait of CM Punk and Darby Allin. I have to say, for a guy that was gone for 7 years, not bad. Good on you. And it's weird to say that because, I always thought Punk was a good wrestler, but honestly, a 7-year absence, I thought he did great. I say that because of the absence that he had. I'm sure if he had more time and got more into the better rhythm, I'm sure the match would have been better. But for somebody who was gone for that period of time and for something that a lot of us waited to see, I thought this worked. I thought Darby Allin was a great first opponent, and I'm happy that at the end of the match, there was no like heel turn or no like turns or whatever, because you saw Sting came out. I'm gonna like leave it as is, and they ended it right. CM Punk in the ring celebrating his return, the respect, shaking the hands. I'm like, that is what this needed. Don't twist don't go crazy with storyline. Don't go off the card here. Just embrace what you have, and they did. AEW definitely acknowledged, and they shown that hey, this is a big deal. Let's CM Punk soak in the moment. He's back. Now let's see what we can do with the guy as we continue to move along with him for however long he's here. Really, really big fan of that. I love the spot of the coffin drop and CM Punk sitting up and just kind of putting on the face. I said, I watched tape, you idiot. Nerd. I thought, like I said, I thought it worked out. I'm happy for the guy, and I'm happy he had a solid match, and I'm excited to see where he goes next. Lex.
Yeah, you knew going into this match, it's CM Punk's 7-year return in Chicago. He could be tripping over his own feet throughout the entire match, and they would still love him. They would still cheer him. Like there was no, I guess, besides overbooking the match and having like heels run in or whatever and having Sting fight them off, like there was little chance of them messing this up, and they didn't mess it up. So to their credit. He comes out, the crowd is singing. The bar I was at, they were singing Cult of Personality as well. The crowd was singing.
I was singing it at home.
They didn't have to make it super obvious. They wanted you to sing it. They just did it organically. They didn't have to be like, oh, no music, sing the song instead. That wasn't a thing. Anyway, he comes out. We get a huge It's Clobbering time. Everyone's super happy to see him.
That was great.
I liked his long trunks. That was a nice new addition.
Yeah, I got to get used to that.
I think it's good because it's a new era. It's a new CM Punk.
It's a new era. Yeah, I agree. It's a new era. Yeah,
it fits. And I think being in your 40s, your legs aren't going to look as good as they did when you were younger.
Sure.
I think that's probably a smart move on his part.
Sure.
But no, yeah, he was great. Some crazy wrestling fan. Our friend Mike sent this to me. Some crazy wrestling fan. I don't know what goes through their head or how they were able to do this. Noticed that for the opening like parts of the match, maybe even after that, they were doing like beat for beat exact like exchanges from the Bret Hart versus the 1-2-3 Kid match. I forget which pay-per-view. I don't know what show it was from. Someone noticed they were doing like the head.
Yeah, I sent it in our chat.
Yeah. Someone noticed. Was it? Yeah, I don't remember. But someone noticed.
I sent it in our chat, but I saw it on Twitter somewhere.
Right. Yeah. Some crazy person like noticed that. I'm like, wow. Okay. First of all, who has the freaking time on their hands or the wrestling memory to like even notice that? But
seriously,
that being said, like that is what he should have done. That is the smart thing to do. It was a very smartly, intelligently put together match. He wasn't doing things he shouldn't be doing after being gone for 7 years. He wasn't taking needless risks. He wasn't like, gonna act like risk breaking his own neck or breaking his leg or anything like that. He was doing what he needed to do to, make the crowd happy, to get Darby Allin over as a future star or a current star. And there were so many great callbacks when they were chanting like you still got it or whatever it was, and he was like, him? And they were like no, I was like, oh, me, yeah, like the reference to the John Cena Money in the Bank match when they were chanting, you can't wrestle. And he's like, me? And like no, oh, him, yeah, That was great. And the GTS out of the ring spot, that was also a Cena reference, which was cool.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, it was a really well put together match. The only like real, like I guess botch, if you want to call it that, was he went for the drop kick that he does, and he kind of missed. But you know, he's used to doing it on bigger guys. Darby's pretty short, so that's like a nitpick. But no, yeah, it was great. You know, it was exactly where it needed to be. They didn't like overbook it by having like 2.0 run out and Sting fight them off or anything like that. Like they did it exactly how they should have done it. You know, Punk wins at the end. Darby still looks strong at the end. You know, they shake hands. You know, raise their arms up. Everyone goes happy. They absolutely. You know, I won't call it a home run because you know it wasn't like you know a 5-star classic or anything. But as far as like what they needed to accomplish, they absolutely accomplished it like perfectly, and it was a great return.
Pete.
Yeah, it wasn't a 5-star class. It was like a 3.5 to 4-star.
Right.
Solid.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
Solid bout between.
Yeah, I
that's-
think
the weird thing is this is CM Punk's big return after 7 years in the ring. It's the third biggest talking point on this show, probably. That's kind of ridiculously crazy in regards to this show when CM Punk's return to wrestling isn't the biggest thing that happened on this show, which is pretty huge. And in terms of Lex saying that CM Punk doesn't need to like break his neck or break his legs, he's got Darby Allin to do that.
Yeah,
Darby Allin.
That is true. That bump he took spine first into the ring post.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
Through the turnbuckle, I looked at that.
Why?
Wow.
Why?
Yeah, I love the historian in Punk, and I've said that like the 1, 2, 3 kid Bret Hart thing, like with Bret being like best in the world as well, obviously.
The veteran over the
because it was that little like it was the arm drag.
Right.
And then it was like when you get caught by the young guy in an arm drag, and he just sits down and goes,
like, okay,
got me there, but then getting up and going, no, I'm still the best. And
yeah.
it's nice little touches. I really enjoyed the match, but my favorite thing in this entire bit was post-match, CM Punk leaving the ring, pointing at the heel tunnel, looking like he was going to go down it, and then go, no, that one, and just winding up the fans to which tunnel he was going to go down.
Well, I think it was
and
more
then
like,
finally go, yeah, we'll go down the face one for now, lads, shall we?
Oh my god, those freaking tunnels! I think I brought up the joke earlier.
Brilliant.
I think with you guys many episodes ago, I'm like, oh, if he comes out of that tunnel, he's an instant heel, folks. Get ready. Oh no, how could he come out of that tunnel?
Yeah.
I
still don't know which is which. I still don't know.
Do you know which tunnel Mr. Adam Cole came out of for his debut?
Yeah, I know. It left his heel. Yeah, left his heel, right his face. We'll talk about that moment in a bit.
Left from the camera shot. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like left from where the camera's pointing, left his heel, right his face.
If your face, Lex, if you're staring at it from the ramp.
Yeah. Left.
Yeah. Left heel, left hand, right face. Anyways.
You're right.
Let's move on to that. Actually, is there anything else you guys want to add on to put the Punk and Darby? I don't think so. We're all good. Let's talk about the main event, the AEW World Championship, the Toronto Zone, Christian Cage taking on that boy from North Carolina. God, Justin Roberts sucks. Taking on that.
I love him.
North Carolina.
John. No, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, God. I am like I was not a fan of Justin Roberts in WWE.
He says he has creative control over his announcing. Take that away immediately.
For the love of God.
I actually love it.
I will say this. I will say though, I thought the line before the North Carolina was sitting in a Waffle House from North Carolina. I'm like, oh, that's brilliant. That's kind of funny. Anyways, look, before we get to like the biggest shocks of the, I just want to say, and I didn't tweet this out in time because I was shocked at what I was seeing on my TV. I am sick, and I mean sick and tired of the overbooking heel interferences with Don Callis, with Luke Gallows, and especially that shit Carl Anderson. I'm sorry, but it's just so boring and so overdone.
Predictable.
Like, it's so predictable. It's so corny. Carl Anderson is not a good guy. Sure, he has some issues going on right now, but oh my God, is the guy a dick? I don't care.
Yeah.
I'll gladly keep preaching that. The guy's a literal dick on social media. The guy looks to be a genuine, true asshole behind the scenes. Again, that's the impression that we get off of Twitter. And obviously people can argue, but you don't know what goes on behind the scenes. Sure, but you still get impressions, don't you, idiots? So I'm just sick of the overbooking. It does not sell me, and I think that's why I hate this Omega reign. I thought I was stoked when Christian won the Impact title. I'm like, oh my God, Kenny finally takes a freaking loss. Thank God. And I knew Christian wasn't going to win this match. There was no doubt. I mean, especially leading up to that main event too, and people were talking about people were ready for like one big massive surprise. I'm like, If it's just Kenny winning, then obviously we're gonna get some really, really big debut, or this is gonna like a great show is gonna end very, very flat. And that's what I'm seeing with this Kenny reign. To me, it's just so flat. I'm bored. I'm so bored. I just want that title off him. And I think it's only because of the amount of titles that a guy accumulated, like how I'm collecting Pokemon cards. Like it's just, like I don't know. There's just something about it, and I know Pete's a big fan of it, which is totally cool. I'm just saying, like, to me, I just got sick of it, and especially the interference. It's feeling like, okay, we get it. Don Callis is going to distract the ref. There's his cue. Here comes bring in Danielson and Gallows. Perfect. Get Don Callis back up on there. Like, it's just, I get so sick of it. But and of course, the big, obviously, once that all said and done, poor Christian loses. Out comes who we thought was going to be somebody, and instead it's Adam Cole, baby. Holy crap! And of course, coming out of the heel tunnel, Pete picked up on it right away. He's like, "Oh, he's gonna be with them." I didn't, because
Easily a heel.
Because he came out, and I'm going, "Holy crap!" WWE did not get him. They couldn't get him, and as somebody who prefers WWE. And that's strictly because I grew up with it. It's not to discredit AEW and their work. It's just I just grew up with WWE. That's just what I'm used to, right? And like obviously I would still pick a WrestleMania over Double or Nothing or an All Out. I know for most wrestling fans that may be the stupidest thing, but that's just me, because that's just how I grew up, and that's just what I'm comfortable with, and that's just what I've learned to appreciate. And as I'm learning to appreciate AEW. And of course, that's a massive loss for WWE. I feel bad for WWE. I really do. And I know some people will come after me for that, but once I saw Adam Cole come out of that tunnel, I'm going, oh, that's rough for Vince. That stings. I'm sure they tried everything that they could to sign the guy, and I would have loved to see a main roster run. I know many people didn't.
Let's make it rougher for Vince.
And exactly, let's make it rougher for Vince. Out comes after Adam Cole decides to attack Christian Cage, and no, he's still a face after the whole ROH breakup. People going back, and the two kiss on the cheek by the Bucks. I thought that was great. If you knew indie wrestling and ROH, you knew that's what the Bucks did when they turned him Adam Cole before he went to NXT. Out comes Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan from WWE. Again, my heart went, oh no, WWE. Oh no. These are two really, really big names. And of course, the anti-AEW people, like the true anti-AEW people, kind of be like, guys, the WWE still has the ratings. They're okay. They're going to be fine. It's not a big deal. I'm like, this is pretty fucking big, guys. This is maybe, I'm not saying this is I'm not saying that they're going to get 2 million views soon. I'm saying that they could be on their way there because they're getting the star power. And, right now as a fan, I want to see who has the crazy star power, or has like people that you want to tune in. And that's AEW for me right now. And that's Adam Cole, CM Punk, Bryan Danielson. If you ignore that just because you're a WWE mark and say that nobody is going to know Adam Cole because they don't watch the indies and only watch NXT, give me a break. It's huge, and I'm happy for AEW. I'm going long here, I know, but I'm really happy for AEW that they got such big star power. And Bryan Danielson coming out, holy crap! And I know both of them in the scrum saying that they were happy. I know about Adam Cole, but I know Daniel Bryan said that he was happy with WWE. He loves Vince, which is great to see after what CM Punk said, and that he just wants to try this opportunity for him, because both of them got the offers. I know they did.
Yeah.
Both of them got insane offers, even to a point where Vince said, "You know what? We'll let you go to New Japan. That's how bad we want you." That says a lot about somebody who's respected. If they're willing to break their forbidden door or knock it down and say, "Go to New Japan, do what you got to do." Didn't work out. Daniel Bryan finds the opportunity here. I'm happy for them both. Massive debuts. And again, congrats.
We offered that Jericho as well when Jericho first left.
Yeah, exactly. I think for the shit that WWE gets, when they want to keep somebody, they're going to go all out. Lex, let's start with you. Lex, let's start with you.
I will say,
on all this.
Yeah, you were talking about the line about how he loved he loved where he was, but he left anyway. The other line he said, which I thought was awesome, that I think people have overlooked, was, we know CM Punk said, "I left the wrestling business in 2005 or whatever." But what Daniel Bryan said was he never left wrestling. He took wrestling with him wherever he went.
Which
And
I
When
respect.
he wasn't allowed to say wrestling.
Yeah, he said wrestling when he wasn't allowed to say wrestling. And that's completely true. I think Punk, in a lot of ways, was the same. He took wrestling with him. And I feel like, Bryan absolutely has. I know why Punk has the attitude he does, but it's refreshing to see someone like Bryan have that, fresh, have that bitter or anything.
And I think it's needed. I think
exactly.
it's needed too.
That mentality. And meanwhile, Carl Anderson's having a conniption in the corner because Bryan said he loved WWE. But anyway,
in that speech though, I really liked that like Jungle Boy was still in the ring and stuff and that, and then every comment he's saying, like they're just sat there applauding.
Oh, did you notice when Bryan said like, I know it's probably gonna get a lot of boos, but I loved where I was. And you hear boos, and you see Luchasaurus go over to Jungle Boy and like cover his ears.
I didn't see that.
That was funny. That was funny.
And again, like it's weird and it's sad that you're not allowed to appreciate where you came from.
Right.
With this group, or
you have to take a picture. You have to take a picture with Cody and John Moxley flipping off the camera.
Yeah, and you're I guess you're quote unquote, depending on which wrestling like community you talk to, you're quote unquote good in their good books and their good graces. Like again, if somebody
with us or you're against us.
If somebody likes WWE, don't like what sue them. What like what for? Like there's no need to, right? There's no need to. Like I said, my only problem is if you're just so entrapped in one or the other. And you try to pass off as acknowledging the other, but you're really not there because you're just saying that just to make people feel good. We know where you're at, right? It's like give your criticism if it's constructive criticism. I think you're clear, but when there's bias, there's bias. Like come on, guys. Like let's wake up a little bit. Come on.
So what you were saying about being sick of this Kenny Omega title reign, I think it really is. As someone who liked Kenny Omega in New Japan, I think. In a lot of ways, I don't know if it's because he's been dealing with injuries or what it is, or he's just trying too hard to be a heel or what, but it's really starting to feel like the law of diminishing returns. Like he came in, he was the best bout machine. He was having all these, 5, 6, 7-star classics. And he has had some great matches in AEW, but I do think, especially with this title reign, I don't know if it's because he's pushing himself too hard or the pressure is too much or what, but it's or it's just the booking, but it does not feel like we are getting the Kenny Omega of old anymore. The match itself was good. It was still good. There was nothing wrong with it besides all the interference and all the all that stuff. But it is starting to feel like this is not we're not, whether it's by deliberate or by accident, we're not getting the Kenny Omega that we all loved and we all wanted to see do big things. Personally, that's my take on it. Match stuff was good. We all knew Christian was going to lose. At least they, I guess they beat him with a top rope one-winged angel, so he's protected, I guess.
Yeah, that was something.
But
scary, but impressive as hell.
Right, but of course, that's not the talking point of this whole segment. The talking point is the debuts of Adam Cole and Bryan Danielson. As someone who was a big fan of Adam Cole in NXT, I was at the Johnny Gargano. We were at the Johnny Gargano versus Adam Cole match in New York. That was one of the best matches I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Just and he had that year-long reign with the title. They treated him like royalty. Obviously, Vince was offering him a lot of money to come to the main roster. They were having allegedly writers preparing stuff for him. They clearly wanted to keep him. No one can say WWE didn't want to keep him.
No.
And whether it was what people are saying, whether it was the fact that he couldn't use Twitch anymore, that was a deal breaker. We don't know exactly what was going on there. But either way, he chose to be in AEW, and I can respect that decision. The thing I've said before I think both companies, both WWE and AEW, have guys, or were going to have guys that they easily could prioritize over him as far as making a top star. There was no guarantee of him being a top star in WWE or in AEW, I feel. But he's with his friends, he's with his girlfriend,
Yeah, those are big factors too, which are respectable.
Yeah, exactly. And as long as
especially Brit.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially Brit.
And his I will say his new entrance theme is really, really good. I like it more than Bryan's personally. I think it's the second best.
I appreciate. Yeah, I know people talk about. I had no idea that his ROH team was the Final Countdown. Somebody. Somebody in our group chat put it up. Somebody in a group chat put up that Sasha Banks tweeted Final Countdown. I'm like, what's your fucking point? Like what? Like it's just another day, and I had no idea that was Daniel Bryan's whole theme. I'm like, okay, well that's what she tweeted. Okay, let's speculation time. Like
it's all about that boom.
The final countdown is to play on live TV.
It's like an anthem of a song.
Freaking expensive to get that license.
It's a lot of money. And meanwhile, Flight of the Valkyries is totally free to use. So
actually, when I listen online, it did make me
it is good,
a lot more, because the first time I heard the hip hop bit, I was like, I'm not sure about that.
And then when the remix,
right?
That's what I mean.
And the lyrics, and they had lyrics as well. That was
they
cool.
Oh, gonna get your fucking head kicked in.
I
Yeah,
didn't.
something
I
like
did
that,
not
yeah.
notice that.
It
Well
is.
done.
It's
That's
it's
awesome.
what you used to chant in Ring of Honor at him.
Right.
At the
Gotcha.
other people fighting him. You're gonna get your
But anyway,
fucking head kicked in.
you know, like when the reports came out that Bryan might be leaving WWE, I saw some WWE stans, as they're called, saying like already jumping on Bryan, saying he's overrated and all this kinds of stuff.
It's
And that's
so
ridiculous.
stupid.
That's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
so
Honestly, my
stupid.
favorite WWE stand comment was on the Adam Cole debut, and it was the oh my god, you promised Bryan you delivered Cole. What an L for this company. It was just one of those. I went,
5 minutes late
oh,
there.
guys, come on.
Anyway,
and that's what I said. I mean, like
Even
again,
then, it still wouldn't have been a
no,
fantastic
no. I don't
debut.
think, yeah,
yeah,
still
I'm
would've been.
like I said, I'm saying like yeah, you can be fans of both, you can criticize both, that's totally fine. But when it comes to a point where like you're just like completely shying away because you don't like people, because you don't like comparisons are always going to be made. Like people are gonna have their takes, but it doesn't mean you need to bring the other one down just because you like the other.
You're just denying reality at that point.
Exactly.
But okay, so anyway, just like I was like my thought going into the show was that, you know, I didn't think it was on paper the strongest AEW card that they ever had for a pay-per-view. Obviously CM Punk was a big deal, but I thought a lot of the matches, you know, they weren't, you know, there weren't a lot of like, you know, must-see matches, I thought, in my mind, on the card at first. But I guess they decided, okay, we're going to save the matches are going to be good, but we're going to the thing everyone's going to be talking about is not going to be the matches, it's going to be what happens afterwards. So it's
which is a good thing.
No,
which is good.
absolutely,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but
like,
that was their mentality maybe. Because I think like if you had Hangman versus Omega on this show, and you know he won, and then you know if Hangman won the title on the same show as CM Punk's return, no one would have cared. So they were right to
same as show CM Punk's return. Bryan Danielson debut in the Lucha Bros cage match.
Yeah, I think that
would have been a bad move.
That's the ironic part, right? I mean, like I know people were expecting Hangman to be in the spot and win the title. But no, he wouldn't because he'd asked for a leave of absence. He asked for leave. I'm just saying, like,
oh no, it's the right decision. But like,
I agree. I'm just saying, if the Hangman was on, you don't slot in Bryan Danielson or Adam Cole because you want or expecting Hangman to get that big crowning moment and dethrone Omega. You lose it all.
Don't overshadow it.
So weirdly enough, this worked out.
No, it did.
I think.
And so yeah, and the last point I'm going to make is, you know, obviously, you know, AEW now has, you know, CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, Adam Cole, like all these huge names coming in, and potentially even more. We don't know for sure, but it's obviously this is huge for them. It's obviously when they first started out, and you know, we saw the first pay-per-view and it was great, and you know, it was one of the best pay-per-views people have seen. But then you saw some of the weekly TV, and I think WWE got a little comfortable. They were like, okay, this is what it is. We're not that worried about it. You know, we can do our own thing.
Yeah.
You know, we don't have to like tie people down to like 10-year contracts. You know, whatever.
Maybe.
Go if we want to. But this, I think, changes things. I think this is now okay. Now we actually have to pay attention. Now we actually have to, you know, consider that maybe AEW could actually overtake, you know, Raw in the ratings at some point. And so you know, this is nothing but a win for AEW. And my only thought is, I want to make it's on them now to make sure that with their 2 hours of primetime TV and their 1 hour at 10 o'clock on Fridays, that, and I'm not counting the YouTube stuff. The YouTube stuff does not count. They need to make sure that we can get a happy medium, a happy balance of, you know, homegrown new young guys that haven't gotten a chance anywhere else yet, and all these huge top names that are going to draw the big money for you, that are people know and recognize and everything like that. We need to make sure that there is a equal amount of screen time for both, that one side cannot get overshadowed by the other, I don't think, if this is going to work. A lot of people, I saw this on Twitter, a lot of people will act like AEW has everything figured out. I don't think that's true. But obviously,
I don't think so either.
Yeah, this is a big get for them. And I think now the ball is in their court. They have all this stuff. It's like WCW going to prime time. They have all this stuff that they now have in their court, and now all eyes are on them. All the impetus is on them now to make the most of it. And I'm going to potentially 2 of their shows in a row coming up. So I'm looking forward to see what comes out of this. Obviously, let's hope that we get the best possible result for everybody.
Pete, close us out on this very
Yeah,
long yet
ju-
great episode of
just
Under
to
the
pick
Middle
up on
Rope.
those tiny last few points there, it's like I think they have done that balance pretty well so far. As in,
Mm.
like even like CM Punk coming into the first feud to Darby Allin, Chris
Mhm.
Jericho has been feuding with the likes of MJF for however long now.
Right.
I think you have struck that balance pretty well so far. So like, yeah,
But
he is
those are
open to
two
TJ.
older guys. Bryan is still in his prime. Adam Cole is still in his prime.
I
You
know.
this is a different
I know,
level.
but Adam Cole's like a young talent and stuff, and let's
Right.
hope he gets the best of it. But this, in terms of first of all the actual match there, like one thing I've noticed, Christian and Edge have just main evented their vice versa top
I
company
know.
Mhm.
pay-per-views
Mhm.
in 2021. One main event in WrestleMania, the other's main evented All Out, and 3 years ago neither of them were ever going to wrestle again.
We're close to it, yeah.
And that is mental how good it
I'm
is.
happy
And
for them.
Christian's still taking
These are
bumps
mad
like
times.
a freaking mad one,
These
taking
are
those
mad
like
times we're living
I
in.
know
bumps
people.
through the
I know
table, stuff
people.
like that.
I know people want like the younger talent, but oh my god, if you have Christian, to
Don't
me,
need
if you have Christian and Edge at your disposal,
I
Go.
love having them. Just don't give them the titles. That's all I
no,
always
give
say.
them all the titles they want.
builder.
Give them
The Canadian boy,
ring.
Elias.
Give them the Rumble win. Give them the Money in the Bank
Apparently,
while they're the
Canadian boy
Rumble
over
winner.
here.
Apparently, Gangrel was going to be involved in Christian's entrance for this,
Yeah,
but
that's a
then
whole other thing.
because of the Edge SummerSlam stuff, they
Weird.
decided against it.
It's a weird move, but yeah.
I
But,
thought that was weird too, yeah. But anyway,
But either way, like I think I have loved Kenny Omega's reign. I still love it. I still love him as champion, and I think he has become the 4.5-star bout machine now. But obviously, the main two talking points, and this, in my opinion, is just huge. Like you've just got the best consistent technical wrestler of the 21st century, and the top star of the last 5 years in NXT have both chosen AEW. And these are two guys who weren't mistreated. These are two guys who weren't underutilized in WWE, at least not yet. At the time of like making that decision, they were treated like stars, and they still opted to go somewhere else, and that's quite a telling thing. And yet, AEW are not on WWE's level in terms of mainstream exposure. They don't have that longevity. They don't have that global influence yet, and it'll be a long time before they even might get there.
if they scratch the surface, yeah, I think that's a
Yeah.
big point there.
But what they currently have is a company that wrestlers want to work for, and that seems to be white hot right now. It's generally getting consistent praise across the board, and they don't need to attract WWE casual fans. They need to start. Because they seem to be attracting newer fans and even like fans who've been up wrestling a little bit. Because the amount of comments I've seen from people saying this is the first pay-per-view they bought in a decade or ever, and said it's either like rekindled the love of wrestling or let them fall in love with wrestling again, and that's fantastic
That's
to
great,
see.
yeah,
And
exactly.
to bring people back into wrestling who maybe lost it, or bring new people into the wrestling community who may have lost it, is great. And there doesn't need to be this guaranteed crossover. Not all WWE fans need to be AEW fans. Not all AEW fans need to be WWE fans. And what you now have, and what I know we now have, is a single company that overall is putting an enjoyable show for me week in, week out. Has just put on one of the best pay-per-views I've ever seen. Probably at least the best pay-per-view in the last decade for me. And now has so many of my favorite wrestlers on it, where they being encouraged to and allowed to work and do what they want to do. And yeah, there's going to be some hiccups along the way, but it makes me happy to see I can tune into a show that has like CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, Kenny Omega, Adam Page, Miro, Moxley, Baker, Kingston, Jungle Boy, Ruby Soho, FTR, Adam Cole, Darby Allin, Christian, MJF, Thunder Rosa, Pac, Malachi
a lot
Black,
of
Sammy
crazy
Guevara,
names. That's a lot of good names.
Andrade, and like more on top of that. I've probably left out half the bloody best of the roster there, and
Paul White.
they seem to be mostly
Paul
getting
White.
used well, given the opportunity that they care about. And I love it. And this is why I still love wrestling, because I saw this pay-per-view and I just finished it as a giddy wrestling fan.
Mhm.
I was like not thinking, oh, what's going to happen next? I was just happy. I was enjoying the moment, and I loved it. And that's just telling for me. And it's, yeah, I probably am a bit of an AEW mark. I'm probably even have a bit of AEW bias over WWE at this point. But when I see a show like this, I'm just happy to love wrestling.
Yeah.
And that's what I kind of want, is to watch wrestling and feel like I did at the end of All Out. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, and you don't have to be a fan of both, but I do think that at least AEW is starting to earn the respect of like, yeah, we're doing all this, but we want to make sure that we can try to get it right, and we just want to do this our way, you know. And I know people will criticize the AEW like, oh, they just have WWE cast-offs. It is a place where people go because they were complaining about WWE. And again, like you have two big examples where like it just wasn't the case. They just wanted to try something new and they see that there's potential, which is fine. And again, if you don't see that, I don't know what to say. It's your choice, it's your opinion, but it's a little telling. It's I think in my opinion it's a bit concerning. But like I said, two big examples where they were happy and they were offered the world and they said, let me try this route. Let me go here. And they were technically WWE cast-offs. Technically, if you want to go by that point. Any final words, gentlemen, before we call this one?
Game on. Game on, guys.
Nothing else. All right.
Oh, in the words of Daniel Bryan, AEW, let's fucking go.
Yeah, I was meaning to get like a CM Punk shirt, a Adam Cole Elite shirt, and then a plain white Daniel Bryan AEW t-shirt.
Are you gonna take out a loan for all those things? You're gonna need one.
I'm just going to ask the.
No, you only need a loan.
That Punk shirt's like $35. Yeah.
Sorry, what was that, Pete?
So you only need a loan if you're buying his ice cream bars.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh my god, yeah. I love that people are selling $300 for not open, fully preserved ice cream bar.
It's ice cream. It's not
just
gonna
in
be fully
concessions,
preserved.
they're $16 each.
Yeah, that too.
Really?
Yeah. At the event, yeah, they were $16
but
each.
you guys are not going to sit there and tell me that you wouldn't pay $16.
Oh, I would not. No,
you wouldn't.
So no.
Oh, I'm the only mark. Okay, well, gentlemen, on that note, thank you. So this is where we say goodbye to you guys. Take care. All the best. Bye-bye. And this is where we focus back to me. I think, like I said, Lex and Pete said it best. Incredible show. Really fun. I think it is a great time to be a wrestling fan, and AEW is continuing to make their mark as we go along. We, of course, will be back next week with another episode. Like I said, we're going right back into the groove of things with this podcast. But for now, all I can say is just that. Thank you so much for watching. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, available wherever you get your podcasts, and of course subscribe to us here, please, on YouTube. That would be nice. I'm Jose Taboada, and we will see you guys next week. Have a great one. Bye.